All right, today was a back workout as part of my power building routine. Normally I start the back workout probably 8 times out of 10. I start out with pull-ups or chin-ups, but occasionally I like to start out with barbell rows just to go a little bit heavier. Normally if I start from the floor like this with a dynamic pull, I'll work up to somewhere around 275, something like that. If I do the standard row, I'll go up to maybe 315, so I'm a little bit stronger with the standard row than the dynamic version pulled from the floor. But today was a little bit different in that we added bands. I wanted to do these strict pulled from the floor. I wanted to pull them high into the abs and try to minimize hip extension as much as possible. And so I just stopped at 185, and so I did a warm-up set at 135, and then I believe I did 3 or 4 sets of 8 at 185. And again, I just tried to stay as strict as possible with these, pulling them into the upper abs and not lower into the abs. You'll see that I did both versions today. So I started out with the strict dynamic version from the floor with minimal hip extension, and then after that I moved into kind of the version that I like, where I kind of pulled from the hang. So kind of the way that I positioned my body on these is that they didn't just pull straight down. The bands are actually kind of wanting to pull the barbell forward a little bit, and that's actually good, with a little bit of an arc in there, with the bar travel out just a little bit out in front of you and then kind of come back into the torso. It actually is a more natural action for the lats to do that. There is a little bit of hip extension in there. It's hard to do any kind of weight at all and have 0 hip extension, but I try to minimize it. And when I pull, what I really try to do is initiate the pull with kind of a dynamic extension of the back at the same time I'm driving my elbows backwards. You definitely want to use straps with these to kind of disengage the grip a little bit, because you're trying to disengage your arms as much as possible and really focus on the lats. If you don't do these right, you're going to feel most of it in your biceps and your forearms. If you do them right, you should feel it right across the middle of your back and really through the entirety of your lats. Especially with these bands on here. After I think we did 3 or 4 sets, the dynamic row, and then we went into the regular barbell row. And so you'll see I kind of deadlift these off the floor a little bit, and my torso now is at about a 45-degree angle to the floor instead of being more parallel to the floor. So that just puts a little bit more tension on the entirety of the lats, I feel. And the other thing is, if you look at where the bar is being pulled into, this style now, with the dynamic rows, I was pulling into my upper abs. Now I'm pulling really low into my abs, actually below my belly button, almost right into my waistband. And that will hit the lat really from top to bottom. I mean, even traps, lower lats, everything's going to get into play with this version. So I like this version better. I kept the reps up high at 15. I really wanted to get a lot of blood into the lats, and so I just went up to 155, and for 15 reps, 155 plus the mini band tension was plenty. That was definitely a challenge to complete all 3 sets. See, on this 3rd set here, I got to about 12 reps. I was trying to get 15. I got to 12, and then the tension on the bands just got to my erectors and my mid back, and I couldn't hold the position anymore without having to set it down for a second. So the rowing itself was hard, but the holding the position correctly was just as hard. And so the low back and the mid back, trying to hold my back into proper extension while I was doing these was killer as well. So I really like this band version. I'm probably going to come back to it a little bit more often. And then on the 4th and final set of the barbell rows, did a little bit of a drop set. So I think I got to 12 reps again at 155, and then I really couldn't hold the position anymore. My low back, my mid back were just really getting fried by this point. So I set the bar down, stripped the tens off, went down to 135, and finished out. And even 135 at this point in the workout was killer, mainly holding the position. But really, I was already just from the barbell rows, I think 6 or 7 total sets today was just, I could have been done right here and probably been fine for the day, but I wanted to get a lot of back work in today. So following the banded barbell rows, went into a dumbbell row. 115 is fairly heavy, but I mean, a lot of guys do these 150s, 120s. But I like to really use a full range of motion for the dumbbell rows. I'm not big on just going as heavy as I possibly can and just moving the weight a few inches. I don't get much out of that. So you'll see the way I do these. I do them kind of unsupported. I don't do the whole knee on the bench thing. I just put my arm on a bench and I really let the weight stretch. And as I was talking about before on the barbell rows, you'll notice I kind of let the weight go out in front of me a little bit. So if you look at where my feet are and you look at where the dumbbell is at, the dumbbell's actually kind of out in front of my foot. And then I'm pulling it up, but I'm also pulling it back. I'm pulling the front part of the dumbbell. So if you look at that front part of the dumbbell, I'm trying to pull that into my lower ribs. That's the angle that I'm looking for. I really like to do these more unsupported rather than kind of the knee on the bench version, and really let that weight come out in front of you, and stretch the lat that way, and then pull it back and up. And the benefit of the dumbbell row is the stretch. So you really want to kind of rotate your torso a little bit on the way down and just feel the dumbbell trying to, I tell clients sometimes, feel it pulling the lat off of your ribs. Feel where the lat attaches onto the ribs, feel where it attaches kind of onto the spine, and feel those insertion points really, really stretch, and then row it up. And you'll get a much, much better contraction on your lat that way, and you won't need nearly as much weight. And again, here I would definitely recommend using straps on dumbbell rows. Unless you're doing them for your grip, you're gonna get a lot more lat activity if you can just not have to worry about the form and the grip giving out, and just worry about the lat stretching and contracting. You're gonna get a lot more out of it. Did I think 3 sets per arm here on the dumbbell rows. I might have only filmed 2 sets, but we did 3 sets per arm, about 10 to 12 reps on each side with the 115s. And then following that, wanted to give the low back a little bit of a rest. So went into lat pull-down exercise. Again, with lat pull-downs, same as all the other back movements, I'm a fan of a full range of motion in strict form. I'm not a fan of putting on as much weight as possible and just heaving the weight up and down like you see a lot of guys do. So initiate the movement by trying to retract your shoulder blades together, not pull on the weight with your hand. So you'll notice I do go thumbs over the top on the bar on a lat pull down. That's just a little trick that I do because it disengages your grip and your forearms a little bit and helps you focus on the lats. But did 3 sets here of 10 to 12 reps. And then followed by a drop set. I think I only filmed 1 set. But again, real strict, big stretch at the top, and then just pull down to the collarbone and really try to squeeze your shoulder blades together hard at the bottom and get a good stretch at the top. And then from here, went back to another rowing movement. My back was totally smoked at this point. I really didn't need to do this movement, but I wanted to do 4 movements today. So went into a T-bar row, not very heavy. Normally I would do T-bar rows with like maybe 4 plates or something like that on there if I do them earlier in the workout, but I was just trying to go real strict form here. So I did 3 sets of 10 with just 2 plates, and then at the very end I pulled a plate off and just did another set with just a single plate. Even on the really lightweight I use straps, and again I almost just barely even grip the handles, because on these, the T-bar row, what it really is, it's almost kind of like a shrug. The range of motion with your arms is very, very short. But what you're trying to do is on the way down, you're trying to really let the shoulder blades stretch. And it's same deal. You want a really, really deep stretch across the mid-back and the base of the traps. And then when you come up, all you want to really think about is driving your elbows back and squeezing your shoulder blades together. So it's almost just like a shrug with your shoulder blades. You're just trying to retract your shoulder blades and really, really squeeze the back. And if you can hold it even for a beat at the top, that's even better. Anyway, that's all, guys. Appreciate you watching. If you would, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want more strength and conditioning and all things barbell training tips and articles, go to my blog at andybaker.com and subscribe there, and you'll get registered to receive all kinds of free articles and tips in your email box every week. So if that's something you're interested in, then head to andybaker.com. All right, thanks a lot, guys.